Alright guys, Tadgrubber here, back again, bringing you another video. Today we're going to be talking about Call of Duty World Championships 2018, the 6th World Championship. This time we're here in World War II, and coming down to the end of the season, the biggest tournament of the year is on the line. $1,000,000, whatever the hell. And there's favourites, there's not so favourites. Who's going to win? Maybe it'll be your favourite team. Maybe it'll be all-conquering Rise Nation. They're at number 1 on my power rankings list. That's what we're going to be walking through. So effectively power rankings, most likely to win, the least likely to win. That's effectively all it is. I just wanted to talk through my reasoning because there's a couple of controversial picks in here, I'm sure. And I'm sure you guys will have your own opinions, so leave them down in the description, or probably not a description, more likely comment section. Not sure you can edit the description. We shall see. YouTube 2018, who knows? Today, power rankings. Said that multiple times. Now, there's different ways you can do the rankings. You can do 1 to 16, which effectively I've done, but I was watching a video from Thorin when he talks about the S-Class, A-Class, B-Class system, which is apparently from like StarCraft or something like that. S-Class is like your best of the best teams. They're winning tournaments. They're taking home trophies. They're always contending, always making top 4, if not better than that. Your A-Class is like your really good, solid teams that can challenge the S-Class teams, win tournaments in their own right, but not quite as commonly as the S-Class teams would do it. Then you have the B-Class, who can beat the A-Class and sometimes the S-Class teams, but are never really going to win tournaments unless they get a lucky run. So, that's effectively how these power rankings are going to break down. Number 1, Rise Nation. Now, let's not forget, Rise did come second at the most recent CWL Stage 2 playoffs to none other than Team Caliber. I'm sure a lot of Team Caliber fans are there thinking, oh, Team Caliber are the favourites. But, you know, you look back a little bit, Anaheim's only a month and a half ago. TK come top 12 in Anaheim. Pretty rough run from them there. If you look on Anaheim here, we scroll down a little bit. See, they're not even on the top 8 here. TK had a pretty rough time of things. So, in their groups, they come second in groups. They lost to LG. They even lost to Enigma 6. Now, obviously, we've got to keep in mind that this is a pretty new team at the time. Then they go into the losers bracket. They beat out Complexity, and then they get taken down by FaZe. So, a pretty rough run from Team Caliber there. Then they turn it into a first place at Stage 2. Now, the first place was very impressive. In fact, they actually beat Rise Nation 2 series to 1 with an 8-5 map count. Very impressive from them. The only team that could really seemingly challenge Rise. But I think that TK had things going their way to some extent. Enable was terrible in Search and Destroy, as we know. But they still won most of their Search and Destroys. I feel like in a longer form bracket tournament like Champs, where you've got groups and then you have a bigger bracket, because you've got 8 groups, of course, S&D is going to be more of a factor. And winning Game 5 S&Ds is going to be hugely important, I think, whatever team's going to win the event. And TK, with that liability and Enable, I'm not sure they can keep up that S&D consistency all the way to the trophy. So I'm not putting them first, even though they were the best team on the weekend. You have to look at Rise and say that, look, they won Seattle, they won Anaheim, now they're second at Stage 2. That's your S-Class team. That's the team to beat. They're just fantastic. Every open event they attend with this team. Gunless was a little bit lacking, and TJ as well in the league, but they showed that the league games don't really matter too much. Bounce back to top form once again. They lose out to TK this time around, but you know, maybe you don't want to win 3 events in a row leading into Champs. You want to know that you've got some sort of fallibilities there. So that's another reason why I think Rise are definitely favourites coming into Champs. They've been the most consistent over the last three events, and you know, they've made the grand finals in all of them. You would be surprised if they didn't make the grand finals, put it that way. So Rise number 1, TK number 2 as of now. Rise is the S-Class team, I would say. I think there's only one S-Class team, and then everyone else, down to like 8th or 9th, is like an A-Class. They all have very strong teams, squads. They can all beat number 1 Rise Nation on their day, but they're less likely to win a tournament than Rise. And obviously, a lot of these teams are very similar in terms of how likely they are to win tournaments, in my estimation. But I've given them I've given them a ranking based on their placings and how they've done against each other. So TK are in second. Very impressive team, especially at Stage 2. We'll see if they can hold on to that form going forwards. they took down Rise, they took down FaZe, they beat Unilad. Very impressive squads all around. And that's why they're the second favourite for me right now. Then you've got Red Reserve. Now, Red, third at Stage 2, second at Anaheim. They come second earlier this year at Atlanta with Josh, of course. They're looking better than they did then. And honestly, their last 2 tournaments they've played, they've only lost to Rise Nation. That's the only team they've lost to. But they can't seem to beat Rise, which is a problem. They're 9-2 series count against Rise Nation. And they just can't seem to get past them. Even with Rise looking pretty weak, coming off the back of a poor league placing, Red Reserve still couldn't get past them. And Red have yet to prove that they really have the caliber to win events. Only Zero has won the major international event last year at Stage 1 playoffs. Rated and Joe come second at CWL Champs 2016, of course, in Black Ops 3. So they have the pedigree, but they haven't shown they can go the whole way yet, which is why I can't put them into that S-Class category right now. So, Red Reserve are UK's best hope for sure, Europe's best hope, I guess, put it that way. They've looked great against basically every team apart from Rise. So, if you're Red, you're either hoping you can finally muster something to beat Rise, or you hope that someone else takes them down and then you can defeat them. So that's why Red are second based on their placings and their success against all the other teams. Then you've got E United. They've been looking a lot better recently. They come 4th here at Stage 2 playoffs. They come top 12 at Anaheim. Mostly they've been finishing top 6s all year. They do look better with Felony. Pristini and RCs have been great lately. Even Clayster's turning his season around. He's starting to perform really well. He still uses the sniper too much for my liking. But regardless, they're looking really good. They're a very solid team. They beat Unilad. They end up losing to Red Reserve. We can have a look at the Stage 2, the bracket run here. So obviously Unilad comes second in Division B, or E United of course, and then here's the winners brackets. E United beat Echofox, they lose to Rise, and then they take down Unilad, they end up losing to Red Reserve. So losing to Rise and Red, no mean feat at all. You can't really expect to do any better than that. So E United currently in 4th. They've got the potential there. They've shown throughout the year they can beat any team on their day, but E United have never really been that Sunday team. They've never made it all the way there, especially since Clayster joined. So, you wouldn't predict them to win champs, put it that way. Then you've got Unilad. This is a surprising pick to say. If you say that Scraps is leaving Unilad a couple months ago in April before Stage 2, and that Unilad are going to rocket up to a top 5 team in the world, that's an astounding statistic. But I think it's fair based on their placings. They come 4th at Anaheim. Of course, they've got Zed and Alex now, a formidable submachine gun duo. Wuskin looks like a new player without Scraps on the team. And honestly, Scraps to Red Reserve might be one of the most beneficial roster moves for both teams that we've ever seen in Call of Duty, as far as I'm concerned. Because both teams have just got exponentially better, it seems. In recent times, at least. They come top 6 at Stage 2, but they did, let's not forget, take down Optic Gaming. So, lost to TK, the eventual winners in the first round. Then they beat Optic Gaming 3-0, absolutely convincing. People weren't expecting that, considering Optic had beaten them they'd beaten them both times in the league. Unilad did, of course, beat him at Anaheim as well. So there's no doubt Optic have to be lower down the pecking order here than Unilad, because they've just dominated them at the big events. Not dominated the first time, but this time it was complete domination. And then they end up losing to E United, so I think 5th is a fair spot. They lose to TK 2nd, they lose to E United 4th, but they're pretty reliable to beat every other team below them. Then we have FaZe. I wasn't sure I wanted to put FaZe this high, but you look at their recent placings, they come top 6 at Anaheim, they come top 6 at Stage 2. Their Anaheim run, at the time, I didn't think it was that impressive. Because if you look at their group here, so they come 2nd in their group, they lose to Red, they beat E United, Tainted Minds and Ghost. So E United's an impressive win, the other two not so much, and Ghost was game 5 also. Then first round they get 3-0'd by Unilad. Then they come through to losers. They beat TK, they beat Mind Freak, and then they lose to LG. So at the time, I didn't think that it was that an impressive run to top 6. But now we've seen what TK are capable of, and E United as well, both above them in these rankings. You have to put FaZe pretty high as a result of that. They've also come top 6 at Stage 2. They beat Optic, of course, and as far as we can tell, that means that FaZe have to be above Optic. So FaZe Clan in 6th. I don't think they're going to win the tournament. I don't think they have the firepower to do it. And they'll probably get beaten by the teams above them. But they do have this dark horse potential. And if Replays is on form and Zuma's dropping 50 every map, they've got a good chance. Then we have Luminosity Gaming. Now, this is probably the most contentious pick. When this was tweeted out by the Gamepedia account, people were like, LG above Optic, how can you rationalize this? But let's put it this way. They suffered in the league. They come top 10 in the league, as I say here. They didn't make playoffs. We'll actually have a look at the league, the standings here. Pretty tragic from LG. 6 and 8, as you can see. They lost some big series to some key names. But Rise showed us that the league doesn't say everything. Optic topped their group. They bombed out of playoffs. Rise come last in their group. Had a really atrocious last 2 weeks. They performed really well. So you cannot read too much into the Pro League as far as I'm concerned. Obviously, they did worse than you'd expect them to. So if you look here, Luminosity, they lose to Optic. They lose the head-to-head of United. They lost to Unilad both times as well. Then they beat the 2 teams they were meant to, and then they drew 1-1 with Complexity. So, all these teams are solid squads. United, Rise, Unilad, they're all above them in the rankings. Optic, they lost to as well, and COD you wouldn't expect to draw with, but COD are kind of like an upset team all over the place. So, look, LG didn't do great in the league, but I don't think that's their full potential. We look at Anaheim. This is not that long ago, let's not forget. Anaheim, they come out of the pools, they go 3-1. They lose to Rise, but they beat everyone else, including TK at 3-0. It's the same squad, don't forget. They beat Optic round 1, end up losing to Red, go down to losers. They take out FaZe, they beat Unilad, then they lose to Red again. To top 3. Now that's a very impressive run by Luminosity Gaming there. And as I say here, JCap at the World Championship. He's won it twice. He's been in 3 finals, I think. Maybe 4 finals, actually. Advanced Warfare he won. Infinite Warfare he lost. Yeah, he's been in 4 finals because he was in Black Ops 2 finals as well, wasn't he? He's been in 4 finals. He's won 2 of them. That's JCap at Champs. Formal has just joined the team at that time at Anaheim. They had a great result. Lackluster stage 2, but as I say, the league I don't think tells you everything about the team. How they perform at the big stages and the big events is what really matters here. And John has been phenomenal. Let's have a look at the stats here for Luminosity Gaming. The overall stats, this is at CWL Anaheim. So stage 2, Slacked was their best player, and Formal and John were about a 1, and Jacob was a little bit lower than that. But that was very unexpected, I would say. Slacked being their best player, Formal having an off event. Let's not forget what Formal was doing last year, guys. He had like a 1.38 at Champs or something ridiculous. So, Formal's a Champs player. John is unbelievable at this game. He has a 1.11 overall at Anaheim, averages 30 kills a hardpoint. Formal's picking up the time. It's very traditional hardpoint that you'd see in this game. John and Formal are dominating search and destroy. John's getting most of the first bloods. He's very impactful with the sniper. He also gets the most caps on his team every minute, has the most engagements in CTF. So John is a real asset for this squad. JCap's heritage, the Champs, including along with Formals. It's tough to put LG lower than 7th, in my opinion. Maybe they can go 8th. There's not really the justification to put them higher than 7th, I would say. But they're still a very strong team. And I honestly would be surprised if they finished as low as top 8. I think they'll probably do better, but it's tough to find the justification for that on paper. Then we have Optic Gaming. Now, they've struggled lately. People thought that when they made the roster change, it was going to be the be-all and end-all. You bring in Methods, Octane, big-name players. But I do think that role issues have hindered them to some extent. People were always talking about role issues at the start, but they initially did well. So people were like, probably not a big deal. But Methods and Octane play a very similar role. Methods is a hill-orientated AR, so is Octane. Crim6 has to be the SMG, even though he had most of his success as a flex player. But to be honest, it doesn't really seem to have affected their hardpoint that much. Their hardpoint has been phenomenal. It seems to be the best hardpoint team in the game. Their real struggles have come in search, and also in the clutch consistency. They get to a game 5, right now you think they're going to lose to pretty much whoever they play, and that's how it's been. They're 1-7 in round 11 since Karma left. Not saying Karma wasn't an issue, but I'm just saying that this new squad is not a clutch team, put it that way. Now, there is an element of clutch, which is luck. Can't deny that. So, if they were winning, if they even won half of those round 11s, maybe we'd be looking at their S&D and saying it's pretty decent. And on paper, let's have a look at these stats again. This is a very interesting statistic line. Go back to stage 2. We'll have a look at Optic. Look at the S&D. Optic Gaming. Okay, here you go. S&D. Maps won 9, maps lost 9. Average score about 5 to 4. So when they're winning their searches, they blow out the opposition. But when they're losing the close matches. That's what basically that means. And that's a big problem for them. But at the same time, if they can tweak their S&D just a little bit, get a little bit better, they'd be a very dangerous squad. Their hardpoint has obviously been impeccable, as you can see here. And their CTF has also been average. You look at their placings though. Top 8 at stage 2, losing to FaZe, and then bombing out to Unilad. They come top 6 at Anaheim. Let's have a look at the Anaheim thing here. They dominate their group. They lose to LG first round. They win a couple games and loses. They beat Optic, or they beat United, they beat Tainted Minds. Then they lose to Unilad. It's a tough loss for them to take, of course. So I struggle to see the justification to put Optic Gaming above 8th right now. You might think they would do better, but they've had a very bad habit this year of when they go down to losers, they just bomb out of the tournament. So they're in 8th for me. 9th, we have Echo Fox. Now, Echo Fox have been a very good team. They finished 6-1 in the Pro League, but it's tough to put them above any of the teams above them, especially how it went at playoffs. They lose to Reunited in the first round, then they lose to Red. Now, you can excuse those losses because they theoretically were the underdogs, but the only real good form they've shown has been in the league. As I say, they finished 6-1 in the final 2 weeks. They looked really good. They were beating Red, but I think they beat TK as well, maybe. But, top 12 at Anaheim, top 8 at stage 2. There's not enough justification to put them above the teams above them. Then we go down. These are the teams I very much struggle to separate. Complexity, Evil Geniuses, Splice, Envy, and Mindfreak. I've put them in that order, but it's difficult to chew them around because we haven't got to see how they were at playoffs. So all we're really judging from is the league and Anaheim. But Anaheim's a while ago. And the best placing of these teams at Anaheim was actually Mindfreak at top 8. They had a pretty good run, including beating Splice. Now, Mindfreak have beaten a lot of really good teams lately. If I look here, I say that Mindfreak, they've taken down Complexity, Luminosity, Splice, Evil Geniuses, and Echo Fox across stage 2 in Anaheim. They beat Splice. Let's have a look at Anaheim here. Mindfreak, they beat Splice here. And then in the groups, they go 3-1 in the groups, actually, beating EG and Echo Fox. And Elevate, but not a very impressive team them at the time. So Mindfreak did really well at Anaheim, but obviously you look at the Pro League and, they go 4-10. Not that impressive. So it's tough to judge these teams. I gave Complexity the edge just because they had great results against some good teams. Complexity 3-0'd Rise in the league, and they also 3-0'd LG. And that sort of potential as a roster gives them a genuine chance to do well. Like, I think that they can win some big series like that against top opposition. They can maybe make a charge. Even though overall I think they might not be the best team out of these 5. Then we have EG. They started really well. They come second at Seattle. Then they drop down to top 16 at Anaheim. They choke away their playoff spot. They've looked pretty bad lately, but they do have that potential. They've got to a grand final at Seattle. So they're down in 11th here. I still think they have a chance. Aches at Champs. He's starting an Optics group as well, so you never know what could happen. Then you got Splice. I wish I didn't have to put them this low, but realistically, they were very poor at stage 2. They 5-9 they finished. They couldn't really win a series against the top opposition. They lost twice to FaZe, lost to TK, got smoked by Red Reserve 3-0 both times. They really do have Envy's number though. That's why they're above Envy here. Every time Splice play Envy, they seem to beat him. They beat him twice in the league. I think they beat him at Anaheim as well. Let's have a look at that. Yeah, Splice, they beat Envy in the groups here, 3-2. So, Splice are above Envy just about, but they're still not a very strong team. And I feel like with Josh, their slaying power is not quite where it needs to be. to be the best of the best again. So it's disappointing as far as I'm concerned. The top 14 at stage 2, top 12 at Anaheim, it's tough to put them any higher than 12 for now. Even though I think their pedigree and the potential on that team is really good. Then you've got Envy. They've also been very disappointing lately. Classic, Decimate, Hook, and Chino. Hook needs to go God mode to carry this team. Classic has been a shadow of his former self from last year. Decimate has been pretty good, and obviously Chino won 2 events at the start, so theoretically that's a great team. And Decimate has, as I say, been performing, but it just doesn't seem to be clicking. Slasher seemed to got off the team at the right time. Hook's going to have to go God mode and have some great support around him if they want to do any better than 13th or so. Mindfreak, I've got 14th. I wish I could put them higher, but I've got to say that they're out in Australia practicing for this tournament right now, and you know, who are they playing against? They're playing against Tainted Minds. That's all they're doing. They aren't getting top quality practice. They're going to come into champs probably not at the level they were at before, and it'll take them a little bit to get up there. And I wish I could put them higher than 14th, as I say, but when they did perform well at Anaheim, but you just have to say, when you put them up against all the teams above them, they're probably going to be the underdog. And if there's one of these teams out of these 5 that I think is least likely to win champs, it's probably going to be Mindfreak overall. Maybe I'm just being harsh. So 15th, 16th, I'll just go over this quickly. Tainted Minds in 15th. A solid team. They've proven really well. Of course, they beat Optic Gaming in the league. That was their only win of the league season, of course. Obviously, not a great thing for Optic Gaming. So, Optic Gaming, this is funny actually, they had a really good last week at the Pro League. They beat Rise, I think, and they beat E United. And everyone was like, oh, they're back. And, like, you know, a lot of Optic fans were like, oh, we're going to win playoffs. But it seems to escape their mind that the very last week, they lost to Tainted Minds in the Pro League, 3-2. And, you know, there's a lot more problems for Optic than some fans at least are willing to admit. But most of them, I think, now are coming around to the fact that, you know, Optic are really struggling this year, and they're definitely not favourites to win the championship and defend their title, of course, by any means. Tainted Minds in 15th. They come top 8 at Anaheim as well, but fell flat pretty at stage 2, and they do have some potential on the squad. Their hard points, not too bad. Their S&D, they can get some wins sometimes, but they're definitely underdogs in pretty much any matchup against the teams above them. Then you have Ghost Gaming. I think some players, or some fans at least, are too eager to put a lot of stock in teams outside the league. Like Enigma 6 and Ghost, they think they're going to do really well and beat the Epsilons and Tainted Minds of the world. But Epsilon actually beat E6 3-1 at Anaheim, you see here. Epsilon's pool, yeah, they beat E6 3-1, even though they lost to everyone else. So, you know, it's not so clear that there's any team better than Epsilon, but, you know, they have been pretty woeful. And I think Ghost Gaming, with players like Lacefield and Parasite, who have done really well at champs in the past, they probably just pipped them to the post there. But there's not much more evidence that I can say to put Ghost any higher than that. I think Ghost have a slight edge over Enigma 6, just because the Parasite are champs, and Ghost Gaming, they have a team house, they have great organisation support. So, but we'll have to see. So that's my power rankings for right now. The pools are available right here. Pool A, TK, Epsilon, Heretics, Pandas. We'll go over this in a future video, but you can see the pools there for yourself. See what you think about this, whether I've got it right. And just going back to the S-Class, A-Class thing, I think probably S-Class is just Rise Nation. Then down to like Echo Fox is like A-Class. I think most of these teams could win an event. Maybe Optic, but Optic's definitely still A-Class. Maybe Echo Fox as well. And at this point, I think it becomes B-Class. Teams that are very unlikely to win an event but have a chance. And then down is probably C-Class, maybe still B-Class. Because, you know, I feel like Ghost could probably take a series off Rise on a given good day. So anyway, those are the pools. Let me know what you thought. CWL Championship starting August the 15th, Wednesday, August the 15th. Be sure to tune in. It's going to be a great one. See if JCap can continue the trend where either JCap or Karma wins champs overall. But anyway, I think that's all I have to say for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, as always, and I'll see you next time.